This meeting is being recorded.
All right, good morning. I think Lisa had the question, how do we handle or give advice to a child who always bullies other children? It's an interesting question because it's not just children, we are all bullies in some way. And it helps to understand where that need to bully is coming from. So in case of children, there are a couple of different things we need to understand the reason, and then the solutions may be very different. One solution would not fit everybody. We looked at stages of child development, like 7-year cycles. Typically, the first year is for physical development, where the etheric body is being nurtured. Physical body is growing, etheric body is nurtured, and at around age 7, etheric body is born and astral body is being nurtured. And somewhere when the etheric body is born, it thrives on rhythms and consistencies, predictable expectations. And it's also an age from 7 till about 14 where we are developing a balance in our behavior, in our feelings. There's also a lot of external, not from world outside. Along with from world outside, there is also a lot of inner turmoil because of that being an adolescent stage, lot of experiences children go through. This is the age, around 7, starting about 7 till about age 14 is when children are bullies. There is a need to bully, and there is also a need to be bullied. When you look at this one fellow bullying others, he is not bullying everyone. There are select children that he is bullying. So what is that nature of those select children being bullied and these children who are bullying? And are we as a class or are we as a family trying to create an environment where there's an expression for this, not in a hurtful way? There is a need to express, but when it is hurting others, that is where we have to step in. So one is understanding that it is stemming from the need to express oneself. The 7 to 14 is also the stage of feeling. The first stage was that of willing, moving around, doing a lot of things, exploring and all of that. And the third stage, 14 to 21, is going to be that of thinking. Now, this feeling has to link the thinking and the doing. So this feeling realm has to be nurtured in a way that it becomes brave or courageous enough to express what I want to say in a non-hurtful way. And it's a very challenging stage. That is where many of the children are let loose and excuse me. And adults are also have not mastered this stage. And And you'll see a lot of us bullying in our own ways, withdrawing and not speaking is kind of torturing others, that's also bullying. Shouting without thinking through uh, reactions, without thinking why other person is saying something or not saying something. All of these are kind of bullying. But because somehow we have our ego bodies developed, we know when to bully and who to bully and in front of whom to bully and to what extent. Children don't have that. And just telling them is not going to help either. If you tell them to, hey, stop bullying, that's not good. You cannot do this to the other child. It's not going to work because there is a huge unrest that is causing this. It's like telling an volcano, you have, spit out enough lava, now stop it. It won't work, right? So keep in mind the stage of development and the need for that stage of child development and how I, as an adult, must intervene. We'll talk about that in a bit. The second aspect is also the temperament. We talked about this as well. The child could be sanguine, melancholic, choleric, or phlegmatic. Typically, the one who is bullying is choleric kind or maybe sanguine kind, and the one who gets bullied is melancholic kind and the phlegmatic kind. If you further look into it, you will see if the bully is the choleric kind, he is going to be hurtful, not caring much about how others feel. And typically, the targeted child is melancholic because he will get hurt because melancholics feel it very deeply and very principled, perfectionist. So they don't react instantly either. So they kind of take it in and kind of suffer over it. If it is a sanguine bully, they're usually happy and not very hurtful and not targeting one particular person or whatever. And if the bullied is the phlegmatic, they don't care much. Oh yeah, 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 I'm this way. You call me lazy, I'm like this. You call me a dumbhead, that's fine, go ahead. They don't get as much affected by bullying, by getting bullied. So sanguine being the bully is not very hurtful, and phlegmatic being bullied doesn't care much. So the most hurt are the ones, melancholic ones, and if cholerics are bullying. Now, we also looked when we did the tech study at 9 p.m. on temperaments. If there is a choleric bully, put him with another choleric. Let them bully each other and let them feel for each other what it feels like. So that's understanding the temperament. One solution could be that. And but understand the solution. I mean, understand the temperament. One is stages of child development that they are in. Second is the temperaments that they may have. Third, you also want to consider the society, the family background they're coming from, the classroom. How is the classroom organized? Is the teacher in the classroom control? Has the teacher defined a certain set of rules of do's and don'ts for children and is firm about it? Are the teachers letting it happen? Similarly, you will have to understand a bit from the family background they're coming from. Are they the rich ones? Are they the ignored ones? Are they coming from dysfunctional families? Anyway, any of these is not excuse to let bully be a bully, but it helps us come to a more a solution that will give us quick results. So rather than just advising, just talking to the child is not going to help anyway, right? So once we know that, let's assume that the child is around 9 years of age in third, fourth grade and is a choleric child and comes from a very disturbed family, obviously he's going to have this need to express the frustration coming from the family. And who does he take it on? I mean, like all of us, takes it on someone who's less capable, someone who does not react back to me, someone who just takes it from me and just sits. And I really, as a 9-year-old, have no capacity to think that other may be getting hurt. That's just too much to expect of a 9-year-old, even 10, 11, 12, 13, 15-year-old. And for that matter, many of us don't even give a damn to how others feel when we speak, when we act. So that faculty somehow never develops in many of us to be empathetic, to feel what others feel. So expecting this child to understand the other child and behave a little appropriately is not going to work. But for us, understanding that the child is coming from a dysfunctional societal setup and he's 9-year-old and he's choleric helps me to sit down with him and do this feeling activity. Most of the feeling realm that needs to develop nurtured in the second stage is heavily ignored in the schools. Primary grades, we give them some art music classes because there is no social studies and English is not that heavy, portions are not that much. So let children do some art craft activities. We give them one period. But the minute we come into the thick of the second stage, and fourth, fifth, especially sixth grade onwards, we take away all those art periods, music periods, dance periods. Any of those expression of feelings periods are gone. And the child would not have developed anything to express. So when you find such a child, you just take that child, just allow him to scribble. Watch the colors that he picks up to scribble. Watch the pressure with which he scribbles. I mean, in that process, he's venting out a lot of his built up emotions that comes out as a bully to bullying others. So in the way the child does art, you will understand, or you will give him an opportunity to express the built up emotions. So every time you find the child bullying, you just say, you call him, make him sit by you and give him a piece, carry a piece of paper and crayons all the time with you. Give him that, say, do a drawing, don't leave any white space in here, color every bit of it, then you can go back to your classroom. That's it. You don't have to tell him anything. And every time there is a need for an outburst, you are giving him that avenue to escape out of that. So in that process of sitting and scribbling is at least 2-3 minutes. Even if the child is very frustrated, they'll just scribble. But the condition is that he cannot leave any white space. And so he'll have to think, he'll have to look, he'll have to pay attention. Where is the gap? In that process, the need to bully will be dissolved. And the second you can use is singing. All of this expression, is the expression of feelings is extremely important. So singing may be a little tricky one because not all of us want to sing in public. But if he's a good singer, then yeah, definitely. And you can just give them some rhymes, some repetitive, rhythmic words for him to say. So you can also teach him one or two. And every time you catch him doing something, he needs to stop, say that once, and if he's going way too fast and wants to run away from there, then you make it 2 times. If it is still very strong behavior, then you make it 3 times, up to 5 times, and let him go back to the class. So basically, you're pausing and making this purposeful, giving him a time to practice so he can do it, he can recite it in the assembly next week. So it doesn't look like a punishment, because anything, especially for the choleric children, if it is a punishment, they're going to retaliate. If it's a phlegmatic child, they don't worry so much. If it's a melancholic child, they're going to withdraw more, and sanguine child is just going to make fun of that punishment. So punishments generally don't work, but you can make it a purposeful activity. The scribbling activity could be that they scribble, 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 and then you say, "Oh, I see a pumpkin in this picture. Can you find that?" And you kind of bring out the colors flowing together in the shape of the pumpkin and call it a pumpkin. Similarly, when you're doing the rhyme, you give him an opportunity that if you do this rhyme really fast, or you say this rhyme backwards, so that's a skill you're developing. It's a challenge, but that's a skill you're developing, and you will perform it in the assembly next week, and I will help you perform in the assembly. So let's practice it. So you call him every time you sense that the child may be tipping into pulling, you bring it up. And this is again not one teacher effort, because you may be with the child for one period, or you may just observe them in the ground where it's difficult for you to monitor or support the child. It would be a collective effort. The anthroposophical solutions for these, like singing and doing the art and all of that, happens in world of schools because there is one teacher who is with the class until grade 8. So it's very much possible for her to mend the child, because she's going to be with the child for a minimum of 2 hours each day, 2 to 3 hours each day. So it helps a lot. But in the case that we are in, we need to collaborate with at least two other teachers. Somebody who is another subject teacher, both of them another. So at least 3 periods in a day, the child gets the support. And when he sees a similar support coming from 3 adults, he is more likely to accept it. And also know that adults, significant adults in the child's life, especially in the second stage of development, have to have this loving authority. You have authority, but it is loving. It is out of love, out of care for this child, that you stand in that position of authority. Not because you are the class teacher, not because you are grown up, not because you are the principal or the owner of the school, but because of your behavior, your attitude, the way you talk, the way you are composed, the way you conduct yourself, you become this firm, expecting adult around this child, and children will definitely look up to you. So when we, 3 or 4 of the teachers, we don that loving authority garb, stay in that stature, and be there for the child, you will definitely see the child respond. Because all of us are looking up to a mentor. All of us want somebody to help us want to share, this is something I did, I don't know how to handle it, I need a solution, without being judged, labeled, condemned, insulted, all those negative connotations. That's why we hold it inside. And the more children learn to hold it inside, especially in the second stage of development, the more one-sided development we will see as they grow up. And trust me, once we have passed this stage, it becomes very difficult to repair. You go to a 10th grade child who is thoroughly been ignored because he never had any loving adults in his family, and he did whatever he needed to survive as a kid, and he developed a pattern of words, actions, reactions as a method to survive. Those were his coping mechanisms, and that is how it is like hardwired in his brain. Habits are formed. They don't feel a thing about missing a class, about pushing over your bike and hitting somebody, stealing something from people. They don't feel a thing because we have let them harden. We have allowed them to develop that dysfunctional behavior. So it's important to catch it early, to support them early. Definitely not from advising, because I may not be right person to advise either. I mean, I may say, hey, don't shout, but then I come back and shout on my colleagues, or the child sees me shouting in another class. The whole respect is gone. And slowly but surely, children will develop this notion that adults are not trustworthy. So we lose it. Does that answer you, Lisa?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You?
Uh, Actually, the child I was speaking about,
Mm-hmm.
uh, he's having a parents are single parent,
Mm-hmm.
but pampered by the grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And he will have a very innocent face in the class.
Yeah.
And also, he's very good in studies.
Yeah.
So, there only
Yeah.
I had this question like how to handle this child.
Yeah. Yeah. Just talk to him. I know you're very good. He's putting up a poker face. So just call him. I really want you to do this rhyme backwards tomorrow in the assembly.
Yes, ma'am.
Tomorrow is too close, so it would be like this Friday or next Monday. So he gives enough practice sessions
Yes.
where he wants to express. He's not having the love from one parent, and other parent is probably busy trying to keep things afloat. And grandparents are also feeling sorry, and they don't know what to do with this child. And single child, they may be worried that he will do something for himself. So they pamper or over pamper at times, and he doesn't see loving authority in any of the adults.
Hmm.
Though he likes to be pampered, but he wants somebody to guide him too. What grade is the child in?
Grade 4, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly the year around 9 is where it is very tough for children.
The problem is he is accepting what he is doing and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it is wrong. But
yeah.
again, repeatedly, like after warning about giving him any punishment, he is like keeping on again repeating the same thing.
Correct.
So,
See, he will accept. There is no meaning for accepting. There is no meaning for not repeating also, because it's a compulsive behavior. He doesn't
hmm,
even know that he may be doing it. There is an
yes,
urge to do something and he will just do it. There is no filter. If he became a 18-year-old or 28-year-old, he will still continue to do, but he will do with caution because there is an ego body
hmm,
developed.
yes,
For 9-year-old, you don't expect that. So it's like, okay, fine, you you can't control it. I mean, you don't have to tell that to him. You know that he cannot control it. So every time you do, you come say this rhyme to me. You're giving him another way to express it.
Okay, ma'am.
Or you tell the story to the class. Therapeutic stories can also be used where you tell a story,
Mm.
you pick his character, but then you also pick up metaphor to go along. You will not be directly pointing at him. You'll pick a metaphor typically from the animal world and make up your own story of how that animal will learn to cope with
Mhm.
not having both parents, with having grandparents pampering, with having his need to let out his frustration, and
Mhm.
eventually how that character in the story may not have as many friends or not have friends that may like him, and then how with a few good friends that truly like him, he'll grow on to become an independent, beautiful individual. You know, you will not take him as an example. He should not even get an idea. Even the children in the class must, oh, that's him, that's him, that's him. They should not know it. But
Okay.
then you tell the story every single, I mean, 2 minute story. You tell
Yes.
this in every single class, uh,
Okay.
not looking at him directly, but somewhere an internal dialogue begins,
Okay.
and it'll take some time, but it'll shift. Yeah. So
Usually,
you
what
tell,
I do,
mm, go
I
ahead.
actually make me as a character, like when I was a child, or my friend, or my
Mm,
sister. I just make a story. Sometimes it'll
mm.
be a real story, sometimes imaginary, but I don't
Yeah.
repeat in the class. Like
Yes.
every day, I don't
Repetition
repeat it,
is,
but yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
Repetition is important.
Yes, ma'am.
Think it's like a gym. Okay. You want to build a muscle.
Okay,
So when you
understood,
want
ma'am.
to build a muscle of caring or muscle of friendship, a muscle of being accepted, it's all a muscle, right? If I
Mm-hmm.
if I tell you, Lisa, don't worry, everything will be all right, then I go away for next 3 days. How will you know? But I have to come back and give you a situation. No, don't worry, it will be okay. Then again, give you. So that's like developing an internal muscle.
Okay, ma'am.
So repetition. It's the same story though. Don't change it.
Yeah, understood, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Good luck. Any questions from anybody? Anything anyone else wants to share? All right. So we'll call it a day here. If you have any questions, I shall take up next 4 days, or I'll give you 4 different concepts, and we wind this 5:45 session up on Friday. Yeah. Krupa, you have a question?
No, ma'am.
All right. Cool. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye bye.